listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Welcome back to the Paranormal Pride. I'm still Denise Pridemore. Nothing's changed there. But the only thing that did change is that we're now just talking to Chris, and I am happy to be talking to just Chris.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no, it's good. Because sometimes talking to two people is hard.
No, we're pretty adept at talking over each other, so.
Oh, I know. It's like being married.
Right.
So, and like I said, this is not like you two are new to me. So I'm actually experienced at talking over you guys. So, which is a whole lot different than everybody else. So one of the things that we always get questions about in the paranormal has to do with equipment. And you guys have a section in your book on equipment.
Sure. And various equipment.
So, yeah. What do you guys think about that?
About, like, what's good equipment to have, you mean?
Yeah.
I mean, a digital recorder, of course, is a great thing to start with. And I think in chapter 7, I think it is of that book, or the chapter is one about Laurel and Yanni and that kind of thing, and audio matrixing, excuse me. You know, we get into how to use that and maybe some of the gear to buy. I'll throw this out there. You know, when you're buying a headset, a good idea is to buy a what's called a studio headset, studio mixing headset. And that has a flat response to it. And what that means is basically it's not, the speakers are tuned in a way that they're not altering the sound. It gives you the most pure sound when you're listening back, because a lot of headsets and are, you know, inclined to certain types of music, you know, are maybe very bass heavy and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And that alters the sound that you hear. You know, so you could literally miss something good because, you know, maybe the bass tuning of those speakers wasn't flat enough. You know, so I recommend, you know, going to music store websites to buy headsets. You know, not using cheap earbuds. Don't cheap out on that. You know, headsets are a thing you want to invest in. Yeah. And you don't have to spend a lot of money. I mean, literally, you can spend $30 and, you know, get a Tascam set, you know, that is, you know, pretty darn decent. And you don't have to spend a ton of dough on that.
Yeah, I see people spend a whole lot of money on an expensive recorder and then have the $1.99 or even the free
earbuds. Right. Yeah, earbuds from Dollar Tree or something.
Well, you know. I've seen them use the free ones from Frontier. So
right. Yeah, I mean that's really.
And I mean, I'm not kidding.
You know, you're better off buying a $50 recorder and buying a decent set of headphones. Absolutely. You'll hear it more realistically, and if you share it with other people, they're more likely to hear what you're hearing, because, you know, it's kind of the goal to have that flat sound and hear things as they truly are. You know, so if your earbuds, headset, whatever it is tuned a certain way, you could play it through other speakers, and it sounds completely different. And the EVP you thought was there, you know, is lost, or, you know, you probably missed it. More than likely, you didn't get it to begin with. Somebody else could listen to the same recording and pick something out of it. So that's an even bigger loss, right? So.
I agree. You know, I know people have said, can you hear this? And I have an EVP, can you hear it? And I'm sitting there listening to it, and I'm going, I don't hear squat.
Right.
And,
well, that happens a lot.
Maybe
that's what audio matrixing is. You know, you start to hear things. One of the real downfalls, and I've been guilty of this, I don't know how many times, is you sit there with an investigation. You've got, you know, umpteen hours of things to listen to. You know, and you're up all night and you're listening to it, and you hear some subtle thing, and you listen back, and you're 6 hours into this, listening, and you will start to hear voices, and you will start to hear things. So I think one of the the tidbits I put in that chapter was take a break. And as simple as that sounds, it's really worth it. Put the stuff away if you've been at it, for 10 hours, and try it again tomorrow with clean ears, because, your brain does play tricks with you. That's what pareidolia is.
Oh, yeah.
Pareidolia, by definition, tends to deal with the ability of humans instinctually to see faces and things. And this was a survival mechanism, and it dates back to, our hunter-gatherer days, when we'd see, say, other hunter-gatherers and wonder if they were mad at us, if they were pissed, or, what's the look on that animal's face? Do they want to kill us, or are they our friend? And that kind of thing. It was a survival mechanism, and we do this. And that's why it's so easy to see faces in clouds and stuff. That's pareidolia. It plays heavily into being a paranormal investigator, for sure.
Yeah. There's times when I've told people, maybe you need to go back and listen to that again and see if you still hear it. But again, like when you talk about pareidolia, I have people send me pictures all the time and say, do you see this face, or do you see this thing? It's like, I don't see anything.
You don't see anything, right?
No, I mean,
because I've been staring at it for 10 hours,
I mean, there's these people. Well,
don't see the
there was this one event that we went to, and somebody took a picture of me, and it looks like this little guy in a red leisure suit that's supposedly on top of me, and everybody but standing by me, right next to me, and I don't see him. Okay, I see my hand moving, because I talk with my hands, and I see where my hand is moving in the picture. Okay, I see that there was motion. And to me, it's obvious that it's this. Everybody else sees this guy in a red leisure suit, and me and the other medium in the room is going, I don't see anything. And so I don't know what it is, but I don't see stuff like that.
Right. And, I think it's not a hard, fast rule, but if you can't make it out, in 30 seconds or something, it's probably not real. Right.
Yeah.
But although it can vary from person to person, I mean, if everybody's telling you they see it and you don't see it, it just may be the way you're looking at the photograph, and that the subjectiveness that comes with any of our perceptions, right?
Oh yeah.
Sure. I mean, that comes into play, but in general, if you don't see it relatively quickly, then you've probably been staring at it too long.
So we have a question in the chat room, and this one's going to be coming from chapter 9, is where your answer is going to be coming from. Investigation, divination. Say that 3 times fast.
Oh, sure. Sure.
About dowsing rods. What are your thoughts about dowsing rods?
Well, that's an interesting thing. See, so my background is more in the kind of area of divination and different things than Clarissa's, although Clarissa is involved as well with that. I think those things depend on the people that are using them. I don't think they are a great measure to present publicly. If you're getting results for them and you can validate it, say, in another way, that's fantastic. This goes into like tarot cards and anything else. I mean, there are lots of shysters out there, lots of people who pretend to come up with data, and there are people who are very good at it. And I've been witness to and privy, luckily, to have seen some pretty amazing things. That's what our show is more about. It's about the paranormal from all sorts of perspectives. But in general, I don't know. I don't, if you're gonna present that evidence and say, well, our divining rods, crossed here, well, that does not show great data, right?
But if you dig it up, and it is,
if you dig it up and it's there, well, that's fantastic, and then you have something to say. Yeah, I mean, are you divining for water? What did they say? Anything specific?
No, Carl, if you have something more specific, please put it out there. I don't know because I know they've been using them up there to find unmarked graves.
And it works.
And is it working out?
And it's been working for them.
It worked for me.
And so they've been able to prove that there were
They're
some
actually
graves.
digging down and finding a.
Well, they're putting a camera down through a small hole to find that there is a grave there.
Fantastic. Well, that's awesome, and that does show you how close we are to things that are very hard to prove, right?
Yep.
The show that Clarissa and I do is called Hidden World, and there are things out there that we don't totally understand, and I love the field of parapsychology, which is very related to the paranormal. But they go through extreme scientific methods to prove things out. And absolutely, there's things to it. There's things I have seen I really can't explain too well or present as data, say, in a Facebook feed. Our book together is about how to gather better data, really, more presentable data. So, our chapter on divination isn't really to say that it doesn't exist. It's just that it's hard to rely on. There's such bad data out there for that,
right.
For different things. If you go to you're doing an investigation and somebody's got a pendulum, and it's very easy. As still as you try to hold your hand with a pendulum, your hand moves very, very slightly, and it's amazing. I've done a lot of work with pendulums. I can make pendulums go every way, and you can stare at my hand and you won't see it move.
Oh yeah.
To do it inadvertently, it's pretty easy to do.
It's
if you're sitting there convinced that you just got a yes answer, from a ghost,
It's all more integrity of the person.
Right, but it can be unintentional too.
Yeah,
I mean, they may have all the integrity in the world and they fully believe it, but they are actually moving it because their subconscious is kind of moving it, but not necessarily in a manner that belies any real truth.
Right.
Right. It's what they think. It's subjective. Again, it's what that person thinks. There are professional people who can do all these things, or are just very adept at it, and give you data you can validate. But we're not all coming out of the box that way. It takes a lot of practice and time and study and all those sort of things.
Yeah, one of the things that I've noticed is that you cannot take a pendulum and put it on something that's inanimate and expect it to work.
That's really hard. That's really, really hard. And if it does work, I would be more inclined to say, yeah, look at that. That's data.
I mean, I've seen in the Sally house, what has happened was that the ceiling fan had the pull would turn one way. It would start going in one direction, and then it would stop and go in the other direction. And it would only do it at certain times. Mm-hmm. And so I would look out the window and see, was a big truck going by? Was there a ground shift? Something, like that. I couldn't prove that there wasn't a ground shift, but I could prove that there wasn't a big truck. Was it a spirit? I don't know. But
right.
I know that I could not put it on a ornament holder, a pendulum on an ornament holder, and ask questions and get it to move.
Right, but you certainly can on your finger, and you can watch your finger so closely and